fellow gamers, and welcome to another episode of Left Hand Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at a game called Flip City. Flip City is a micro city building, what do they call it? I don't even know. A deceptively simple micro deck builder by Chen Chi Fan. Now, in Flip City, what you're going to be doing is building a little city with your cards. But what's really neat about this is the cards are double-sided. So you can upgrade buildings to better buildings and therefore flip the cards over. Now, what you're going to be doing while you're building these is attempting to play 8 victory point cards in one turn. So it's not like you're going to be accruing victory points trying to win. It's that you're going to be accruing cards and then playing those cards and hope that you can play enough to give you 8 points in one turn. Now you have to be careful because as you're playing cards, you're building these buildings and people of the city are going to become unhappy if you build too much. If at any point while you're playing cards, you have, by default, 3 unhappy citizens, 3 frowny faces, then your turn immediately is going to end. Now you can increase that through various cards, but you need to be very cognizant as you play not to have too many frowny faces or else your turn ends and now you've given your opponent a chance to take the lead. What's really neat about this game is it is a push your luck game if you haven't figured that out, because you're going to be playing cards trying to hit 8 points, but you don't want your turn to end before you have a chance to do what you wanted to do. So let's open up Flip City. I'm going to show you what's in the box. I'm going to show you how to play the game, and I'm going to tell you what I think. It comes in a cute little box. You're going to open it up, and you're going to see the rule book. The rule book is a pamphlet style, multiple fold, full color. It's actually a really neat, smooth card stock. I really like it. It gives you an explanation of all the different cards in the game, how the decks are prepared, and how to play. There's even a solo variant. Can you believe it? In such a little game, you have a solo game. I love solo games, so that's really cool. And then you're going to see all the cards in here. Now you have plenty of extra space because there is an expansion coming out. So keep an eye out for my review of that as we get a little bit closer to its release date. But anyway, we can look at the cards here and you can see the cards are double-sided. So you're going to start off with a convenience store, but you can eventually upgrade that to a shopping mall. The cost for that you can see here is $3. You can also see that the convenience store itself costs $2 and that it generates you $1 when you play it. And you can also see down at the bottom it says if you play 18 or more cards this turn you win. So this game reminds me a lot of Innovation in the sense that there's the main way to win, which is playing 8 victory points in one turn. So let me find you some of those. You can see, for example, this card on the bottom will provide you with one of those 8 necessary points to win. And you can see that this card says if your deck is not empty, you must play an additional card. That's that shopping mall. If we look at the factory here, it costs 5 to obtain a factory. It generates you $2, and it says at the bottom, if your deck is not empty, place the bottom card from your deck onto your discard pile. And you can see on the alternate side is the power plant. Now that's going to make your people a little unhappy here. It generates $1 and 2 of the necessary victory points. So all sorts of different things that are happening on these cards. So let me set up a game and I'm going to walk you through in a little more detail how it's played. Here's your setup for a 2-player game of Flip City. You're going to have your cards of each type stacked in the general supply. Think of Eminent Domain or Dominion. These are all convenience stores, for example, Office, Hospital, Factory, and Central Park. Now remember, these cards are double-sided, so the back of all the convenience stores are shopping malls. The back of all the offices are trade centers. The back of the hospitals are your churches. The back of the factories are the power plants. And the back of these central parks are your stations. You got to kind of remember that as you're playing. Also, feel free to just grab a card and you can always look at the other side. Sometimes I will put the cards kind of like this when I set up, just so everybody knows what's on both sides. After you play the game a couple times, you'll more or less remember what's on each. Then you're going to have player 1's deck and player 2's deck. I kind of have them off like this to make it easier to film. Now each player is going to start with the same deck of cards, that is 4 residential areas, a convenience store, a factory, a hospital, a central park, and an apartment. Now the apartment, again, is just a residential area flipped over to its other side. Now if you haven't figured that out already, card manipulation and card dexterity is very, very important in this game. You want to make sure the cards stay oriented in the exact same way. You don't want to accidentally be flipping cards over, or else you will ruin the game. So when you shuffle cards, be very, very careful that you are shuffling them and keeping the correct sides face up. And you also probably just want to shuffle under the table, or you can shuffle kind of looking in the opposite direction, just so you don't know, what card's going to end up being on top, because clearly you'll always be able to see what your top card is. So on your turn, what you're going to do is play cards directly from your deck into the play area. After you play the cards, then you're going to move on to the building phase. That's where you can obtain additional cards. And then finally, you're going to see if you have completed one of the winning objectives, which is by default gaining 8 victory points, or in the case of the convenience store, if you've played 18 cards in this one turn. Let me talk about the anatomy of the cards. We talked about it a little bit before, but to be a little more clear, on the top, you're going to see the name of the card. On the top right is the cost of this card. You can see the cost here. So during the buy phase, that's what it would cost to obtain another copy of this card. The bottom left is the amount of coins that this card will generate this turn, allowing you to buy cards. And on the bottom right area, you have the flip cost. That is the cost in coins to upgrade this card or to flip it to its alternate side, the power plant in this case. And then you see at the bottom there is some text. Now these additional functions, in this case, will happen at different times. For the factory, that symbol looks kind of like a car with an arrow coming out of it. That just says that this card text will take effect at the time that you play this card. There are some other ones, such as the residential area, that has a little double circular arrows here. That means that the following, that you need to read the text, and it happens whenever the text says it happens. In this case, when the residential area is the top card of your deck, you must play it. Then you also have some other ones that will happen when the card is flipped and when the card is recycled. So what exactly is recycling? Now, on the back sides of the cards, on their upgraded side, for lack of a better term, you'll see a down green arrow. This is the recycle arrow. It's different than that pink arrow. And what this says is you can recycle this card from your discard pile. So you can take this shopping mall, and if it's in your discard pile, you can recycle it, meaning flip it back over to its other side, and you temporarily gain 1 coin. In this case, some other cards will do other things. The office, for example, basically causes you to gain 1 unhappiness when you flip it from the trade center back to the office. But you can see there is a special ability for recycling it, and that is when you flip this card, you get to shuffle your discard pile into your deck. So anyway, let's get back to this turn. So I'm going to start by playing cards right off of my deck. So the first is the factory. I'm going to play the factory. It generates me 2 coins. When I play this card, it says if your deck is not empty, place the bottom card of your deck into your discard pile. Alright, so bottom card from the deck be this guy. I'm going to place it into my discard pile just off to the side. I like to turn it sideways just because the cards are double-sided, so I don't want to screw that up. Now, residential area. It says, when residential area is the top card of your deck, you must play it. So I'm forced to play this. And this gives us a frowny face. Frownies are bad, because if by chance there are 3 frownies on one turn, your turn ends immediately. You don't get to do anything else. So that's very, very bad. So I'm going to look at my next card. It is another residential area. Again, I am forced to play the residential area, so I'm going to play it. I now have 2 frowny faces, but I'm generating $4. Now I'm going to look at my next card. Do I want to play it? Remember, this is a push your luck style game. And I can see, ooh, the apartment is going to give me another buck, but if I play it, it's going to give me another frowny face. So I probably don't want to play it because I don't want my turn to end. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to calculate how much money I have, 2, 3, 4, and I'm now going to move into the buy phase. During the buy phase, also known as the building phase, you have 3 options. You can buy a card from here with the indicated value. You can flip a card in your discard pile. So I look at the cards in my discard pile, I can pay the flip cost, in this case 1, to flip it, and it stays in the discard pile. But next, when I shuffle it back into my deck, I'm going to now have an apartment instead of a residential area. Or you can develop, which is purchasing a card and flipping it and placing it in your discard pile. You can only do one of these things. So with my $4, I'm just going to purchase a hospital, and the hospital is going to go into my discard pile. Now what's going to happen is the cards that I played are going to go into my discard pile. Money does not carry over from turn to turn, just like Dominion, so this is now the end of my turn. Now if you'll notice, the cards that I had played were not in my discard pile, so that flip action of upgrading a card, you cannot flip one of the cards that you've just played. It has to be a card that's already in your discard pile. So that's the end of my turn. Now my opponent is going to go and play their turn. So let's just run through a quick turn with them as well. Residential area, forced to play it. Residential area, forced to play it. Residential area, forced to play it. And unfortunately, that's 3 frowny faces. His turn is immediately over. So you don't get to do any buying or anything. So these are then going to go into player 2's discard pile. Now we're back to player 1. Player 1, okay, I'm going to play my apartment. Alright, this is a flip ability. I'm not flipping the cards, so you don't have to take that into account. Now I'm going to do the hospital. And this says gain 1 coin for each frowny you gain this turn. Uh-oh. A residential area, forced to play it. I now have 3, and my turn immediately ends. These will get discarded, and now it's my opponent's turn. And it's going to go back and forth like that. When you run out of your cards, you'll just reshuffle into a new deck. So what you're going to be trying to do is accumulate more and more cards because you want these victory point symbols on the bottom left. If on your turn you're playing cards, say these were already in your hand, and you're playing these, and you play enough to have 8 victory points, you win the game. And there's lots of different ways to gain victory points. It's not just these Central Park cards. You can see the station has 3, and the hospital, the church doesn't have any, but there are other cards that are going to gain you victory points. Here you go, the power plant gives you a frowny face, but a coin and 2 victory points, etc. Lots of different ways to gain those. So you're going to want to build up your deck, hopefully reduce the cards that have frowny faces, and be able to sequentially play 8 points in a solid single turn, and you will win. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the convenience store, if you happen to play 18 cards, so you could just stock your deck with tons of convenience stores, for example, or other cards that don't have frowny faces, and play 18 on one turn, and you will win as well. City is a fantastic game. I really enjoyed the time that I spent playing this. I really like the fact that it is a compact game. I don't have many of those. I'm always trying to build up my collection. This is a game, and I don't want to keep mentioning Dominion, but it's the granddaddy of deck builders. This is for lovers of Dominion. You're going to love Flip City because it's a more compact and quicker form of Dominion. There is not nearly the setup time. The play time is a lot shorter, and it also adds in the push your luck mechanism, or the push your luck style, which if you like that, you're going to love Flip City even more. I also like the fact that this game has a solo variant. I enjoy solo games. You can play this with 1 to 4 different players. So if you just want something that you can throw on the table for 20 minutes and kind of play and try to beat your own score, you can definitely do that with this game. It's something I enjoy doing when I have some downtime. Also, this game has really, really great artwork. It's colorful, it's fun, it's friendly. The iconography is very, very simple to understand, so it doesn't take any time to learn and pick up this game. You don't have to have a big icon reference or glossary. The biggest challenge with this game is shuffling the cards, because cards are double-sided and you don't really have a backside of a card to kind of give you a frame of reference when shuffling, so you have to be really careful when you shuffle. But really, that's really not a huge deal. I mean, you'd shuffle the same way you would any other game. Just forget the fact that these cards don't have a backside as you're shuffling them. So Flip City is a great game, highly recommend it. I can't wait to get the expansion. That is coming out soon, so look forward to my review at that point. But in the meantime, definitely pick yourself up a copy of Flip City. Play this game. It's quick, it's easy, it's a family game, it's a filler game. It's fun to play several games in a row because they can go so quickly, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy Flip City.